Now, very happy to welcome our next guest. He's always really popular. Anytime he's on the show, lots of texts come in, lots of feedback come in. So it's great to have Richard Dunne with us. Not that you need reminding, 431 Premier League appearances with Everton and City and Villa, and played for QPR as well. Man City Player of the Year just the 4 times in a row. PFA Team of the Year in 2010. We often forget that. And then, of course, 80 Ireland caps as well. Was at the O2 World Cup, was at the Euros in 2012. I think that's the gist of it, Richard. That's as much as you're getting anyway. How's things?
Yeah, great, thanks. Just trying to get through this lockdown as far as like everyone else. So it's nice to have a bit of work and speak to people.
I can imagine. I'm looking there over your shoulder. That doesn't look like sunny Monaco. Where in the world are you?
No, this is Manchester. This is so at the start of the lockdown, we decided to come back here. Try and see it out, hoping that we'd have 2 weeks, 3 weeks over here before heading back. But obviously it's gone on and on and on. So it's been a few changes. So we're just back in Manchester for the time being, just to try and see what happens.
Okay, that 2 weeks has become a fair bit longer.
Yeah, that's it. It's like I don't know, what is it, 6 months now? So it's difficult. It's the whole plan was that we'd come back over, we'd have a couple of weeks, but then as it's gone on, we've tried to look for different schooling and stuff for the kids, and my daughter's now in school over here, and yeah, it's been disruptive, I suppose, for everybody, so we just have to try and make the best of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. How are they finding things?
All right. It's hard because we've been in France for so long. My son is a little bit younger, so he's feeling more like he belongs in the French system, where my daughter is more into, I suppose, animals and wildlife and being out in parks and stuff like that, which is obviously more Manchester side of it. So, so at the moment she's here, and at the moment my son's over there with my wife. So it's a bit different. We're just trying to work it out, just try and get him a skill over here that he can settle back into, and hopefully after the October break, then they'll be back.
Right. Okay. Geez, that is a big strain if you've got half over there and half here and no end in sight, and you know when that vaccine arrives, I don't even know.
No, it's but that's it. It's one of those things. You just have to try and make the best of it. The kids both like different things, so we're just trying to make and keep them as happy as we can for the time being, and then eventually it'll all work itself out and we're back together, and hopefully the world opens back up and everyone can get out.
I hear you. Do you place in Manchester? Like, is there an element of Manchester being a second home to you?
Yeah, I've had a house here in Manchester since I suppose 2000 when I signed for City, and then the house that we're in at the moment we've had for 15 or 16 years, and it's sort of any time there's been school holidays or breaks, we've always come back here. You know, the kids see this more as home than anywhere. So it's it's not like it's been difficult trying to move and find a house and look for all that sort of stuff. So we've had a place, and so it's just back to a different routine than the one in Monaco.
Yeah. I mean, I guess under COVID restrictions, you're not exactly high-fiving people, but if you are out and about on the streets, do you get a nice reaction still from City fans?
Yeah, I've been working in at City for the last couple of weeks, just doing a few different things. They have TV thing, and then also helping coaching some younger kids there and stuff like that. So it's been nice to be able to have the time actually to be over here and to go back in and see some old faces that I've not seen for a while. And it's it's good. It's just, I think, just keeping busy is important. So it's I've enjoyed it, to be honest. I've enjoyed being back here. I've enjoyed being around the football club, and it's been good.
Because I wasn't joking. I suspect you hate the question, "What are you up to now?" You know, that former footballers get. What are you up to now? And a bit of this, bit of that. I don't know. That's a tough question sometimes.
It is a tough question because I mean, you just carrying on with your life, just doing the normal things, and different things come up, and there's no like set plan that I'm going to do this forever or that forever. And it's at the moment of like I say, I've been working with Man City. They have like a select group of kids who are sort of pre-academy ages, so just there they've been selected but not quite in the academy yet. So I was trying to get them into the academy, and so I've been working with them a little bit. But again, it's difficult because they're not allowed training, they're not allowed into the academy system, and they're not allowed into the centre. So it's just a case of meeting up on a Sunday, having a match against the academy, and then and then meeting up the following week, but all different age groups. So, but it's just been good just to see them and just to see the standard and the levels that are expected over here. And then apart from that, so what have I been up to? It's just that really. It's just you just try and go week to week and see what's happening. And the city thing's great, but it's again you get a phone call on Thursday and say, oh, we have a match Sunday or maybe not this week, So it's just biding your time and just trying to wait till something more regular comes up.
I asked this not having a master plan myself, but do you have a great plan for the next 5-10 years? Do you know what you want to be doing?
I'd like to get into coaching. I've done me badges up to the A license at the moment, and hopefully we'll do more as it goes forward. But the plan, I've been over in Monaco and France and doing a lot of coaching over there for the last 4 or 5 years, doing younger age groups, development kids, football camps, different things like that. And it's something that when I retired, I wasn't really working along them lines. It wasn't something that I wanted particularly to get into, but I suppose like that, once you've been in a certain environment for a long time, you slowly get dragged back into it, and that's what's happened with me. And I've really, really enjoyed doing it. So it's there's obviously a limit as to how far a private academy can go in Monaco or in France. So for me, I know the Premier League. The people in England would know me more than over there. So I think for me to progress, the next stage is to come back to England and try and work with academies, with Man City and stuff like that, and then hopefully progress from there.
Okay, potentially into adult senior teams.
Yeah, that's the aim. I mean, at the moment, while I've been in France, I've been working with kids, I suppose, up to the age of under 13. And now I'll be with City working with the under 15s and 16s, which again is another stepping stone. And then hopefully in the future I'll move forward and get into the senior level stuff and wherever it may be. I'm quite open about where it is. I don't have a particular aim that has to be the Premier League or has to be England or has to be this and stuff. I've done my time in France enough that I can speak the language, so going back over there maybe to work is something that'd be interesting, or anywhere really. I think as a footballer, because you move around so much, you start to get into the thing that home is just where your family is. It's not really a place, you just move around and wherever it takes you. So yeah, we'll just see. There's plenty of places to go and things to see. So yeah, I look forward to the future.
How does the standard of those 15, 16-year-olds compare to the standard when you arrived over from home farm at Everton?
It's a huge difference. A really big difference. It's I don't know whether Man City is unique in the way that they're one of the probably renowned as being one of the better academies in the world. You can see from the under 10s all the way up, it's the exact same style of football. It's the exact same sort of, even the personnel and the players, and they're not even called positions or whatever. They're number 2, number 5, number 3, number 6, all this sort of stuff. And when they go looking for players, it's about, well, we need a number 2. And there is a specific sort of description of that player and what he looks like and how he plays and stuff like that. And they will have the same player probably all the way through the age groups. So if an under 14 player is doing well, he can easily slip into the under 15s, and he knows the system, he knows the style, and it's almost a specific type of player. Whereas previously it was like, when I went over, if you had a right back who was good in the air and could make a good tackle, well then that's your type of right back. Whereas now it's like, well, our right backs need to be quick, they need to get forward, they need to be able to be comfortable on the ball. It's different, you're looking at players and you think, well, maybe that right back from 15 years ago, maybe he's just a centre half now and that's what he does. So it's the standard and the style of football and the quality of the players are really, really high.
So explain to me then the defending that I'm seeing at senior level in the Premier League over the last couple of weeks. What is going on?
Well, this is it. This is the new style of football, and it's sort of, you're looking at centre halves and defenders in particular, and the first thing they're looking at is, can they pass the ball? Are they comfortable in possession, and can they create chances for our midfield or forwards or wherever? And that first element of, you need certain people in your team who defend your goal. You need certain people who will put their body on the line and stop balls going in the back of the net. And it seems to sort of have gone too far the other way in terms of, it's only about playing football. It's only about passing it from the back. And you look at Liverpool this weekend and their sort of thing, which you could see for the whole season so far. You're watching their games, you're thinking they're going to get caught out eventually because they're too high, always too high. And there's certain times in a game when you can be high, maybe from a goal kick or something like that against you, you can squeeze high. But as soon as the ball comes into the middle zone on the pitch, you need to drop off a few yards. You need to give each other cover. And they're sticking to it on the risk and reward sort of levels, thinking they won't get caught out that often. But it doesn't take too many games when you concede 7 to lose an awful lot of confidence and start to doubt what you're doing. So it's there has to be a fine line between trying to be smart, trying to be pass the ball and be clever and actually just defending and being a defender. And I seen Man City sign Diaz at the weekend, and one of the best things that he did in the game was the ball got knocked down the wing and it bounced, and he could have controlled it and turned and passed it, but he just headed it out and got everyone back into position. And then 10 minutes later, we've seen the same thing down the left-hand side, and Mendy tried to control it, miscontrolled it, and Leeds get in and get an opportunity. So it's it's sometimes going back to basics isn't a bad thing. There's certainly room for the playing and the possession and stuff like that, but there's also times that you have to be a defender. It's not even being old school, it's just being a defender.
Well, that's the point, because you can feel like you sound like a dinosaur when you're making these points.
Yeah, that's it. And you think, oh, well, of course he's going to say that because that's all he could do or whatever. But the truth is, there's defending. If I'm in the team to score goals, I go in, I'll try and score goals. I don't mess around at the back trying to take chances and doing different things. And it's the same for defenders. They're in there to help the team not concede goals first and foremost, in my opinion. But it's just taking any doubt out of things. If you're in trouble, clear the ball. If you can play, of course. But you need to err on the side of caution, I think, as a defender.
Just thinking there, so you went over at 15. So I make it you're going 25, 26 years now out of Dublin. What's your relationship with, home or Dublin, or when you arrive back in the airport? Do you feel like a stranger in your own land a little bit, or do you still feel very settled when you get back?
I still feel good when I got home. I enjoy going back, and obviously my mum and dad and my sisters are over there, so I love going. And I probably feel like a stranger this time because it's been nearly a year since I've been over because of what's gone on. I've just not had the time, and then obviously since March there's not been the possibilities really to get back, so it's hard. But no, I love going back over, and I think being forced to stay away almost makes you miss it even more. You want to get back, and even spoke to me mum and dad about, I'll come over and sit in the back garden for the day and just see us for the afternoon. But because of, I suppose, the amount of fear that's been put into people over what's going on, that they're in their 80s, they're up at that age where they're nervous and stuff like that, and they're like, no, it's grand, we'll talk to you on the phone and that's all right and stuff like that. It's just keep safe and all that. So it's hard, but it's something. Hopefully before the year is out, there might be an opportunity where they feel comfortable having me over and stuff like that, and I can get back. And yeah, I'll look forward to being able to go over, and certainly come over and watch an Ireland match at some stage. Would be great. Hopefully not too far away.
Yeah. So, and we'll get on to the Ireland match, actually. I guess, much of this evening is about kind of building up to Thursday. We had David Myler on last week, and he was very interesting. He said he's very friendly with Conor Hourihane, and Hourihane gave him a shout after the Bulgaria-Finland games just to see what he thought. What did you see from me, kind of a thing? And Myler was saying in his own playing days, he would ring Roy Keane after a game. What did you think? What could I do?
Yeah.
Did you have anybody that you would give a call to? How am I looking? Did you have that type of almost mentor in your career, or was it whatever that says?
Yeah, just sort of whatever my dad says. he tells me I'm brutal, then I know I was. No, I think when I was at Everton, obviously, and I was starting out, Dave Watson was a big part of what I was doing. He would take me for individual sessions on a regular basis, and sort of whatever happened on Saturday, we would try and work on it during the week, and work things out between us. And him having the experience of playing for such a long time is someone that you can bounce things off at the time. But then as you go on and stuff like that, for me, I trusted my own instincts. I know when I was bad, and I know when I've done all right and stuff like that. And sometimes when you're bad, you know exactly why or what it was and stuff like that, and you don't need reminding of how it was. It's one of those, you just, that's a weakness. That wasn't great. Well, I'll try and get better at that this week or whatever it is. But it's hard. You can try and look at things and think, well, I kept getting done down the line all the time. This guy kept moving out and pulling me out of position, and then you think, well, I'll work on that. But then the next centre forward you play against is a guy who just stands central, and it's not the same. The games are never the same. So you just to be aware of everything, I suppose.
It's funny, we Teddy Sheringham on the show on Friday then. I feel like I'm dropping names here, but these are just... we're not friends. But he was talking, so he had to overcome from the age of 14, 15, being told he wasn't fast and I suppose develop an intelligence and an awareness. And he would talk about, he'd come up against certain defenders and he knew he could see the game that bit better than them. So he knew he could drag them into spaces they didn't want to go to and set traps for them. And I'm curious as to what kind of challenge was that versus a Michael Owen when he's got blistering pace for you as a defender, the Sheringham intelligent types or the Michael Owen fast types? Was one worse than the other? Did you find you had more joy against one over the other?
They both bring their own sort of aspect to a game where Teddy Sheringham will try and drag you into midfield, knowing quite well it's not him who the ball's intended for. It's people running in behind, So you start to think, well, I'll drop off and I'll cover that space in behind, and then he gets the ball and turns and he's running at you. So it's different games, different aspects, and there's times when you look and you think, well, the centre forward's not lightning quick, so you can play a higher line and you can squeeze things in and stuff like that. And then you look at Michael Owen, you say, well, he is quick, so we can't play on the halfway line. We need to drop off 10, 15 yards. And Michael Owen, probably when he was younger and he wasn't the one who could turn and create chances, he was the one that would run in behind. And I think as he got older and probably wasn't as quick after all his injuries, he started to drop into that hole. But someone like Thierry Henry, who had both of them, who could drop in, twist and turn and run at you or run in behind, people like that are a nightmare, But I think generally, in terms of cleverness, you're looking at people in the penalty area who can get away from you, who can drag you to the front post, and then as soon as you look at the ball, they're at the back post. And people like Robbie Fowler and Van Nistelrooy and players like that could sort of ghost away from you, and they were ones to really watch.
Yeah, and it's probably an underrated skill, that movement in the box, because it's difficult. How do you do that? How do they do that as opposed to other players?
I remember it was one of the first games that I ever played. We played Liverpool at Goodison Park, and I remember marking Robbie Fowler, and as the ball went down the wing, I had him, and he was literally stood in front of me and looking out to the wing, the two of us. And as the winger put his foot down to go, I sort of adjusted my body to look and open my body. And as it opened up, Robbie Fowler was at the back post, and the ball came over my head and he headed it and it hit the crossbar. And that was like 5 or 6 minutes into your first Merseyside derby. And I thought, wow, I've got loads to learn, because I thought if he crosses it here, it's easy because I'm miles bigger than him, stronger than him, it'll be easy. But by the time the ball had come over in a split second, he'd already got 2 or 3 yards on me and nearly scored. Yeah,
wow. That is a oh my God moment, as you're probably jogging back up to the halfway line. You're thinking, what am I in for here? This is different levels.
So that's it, because you've progressed all the way through from 15, 16 in the academy, and you get into the first team because you're doing well and you're better than the players that you're playing against, and the centre forwards, you're generally keeping them quiet and keeping them out of the games, and then you come up against Robbie Fowler, who was at the time probably one of the best strikers in the world, and then you notice the difference and you notice the step up in levels of what you've done, and there's no more you can just rely on being stronger than people or bigger than people. You have to learn the game quickly, and you have to use your brain, I think, and that's why I suppose centre halves, the older they get, the better they become, because they understand the game. They start to understand the movements of strikers and stuff. And I mean, every time we went away with Ireland, Mark and Robbie Keane would be a lesson to you, because he's someone who would try and pull you short to get in behind and different things like that. And his movement was as good as anyone. So it is, the more you train with the first team and with senior players and top class footballers, obviously you need to be open to learn and to improve. And I think that's why for centre halves, it takes a little bit longer for them to mature.
Yeah, I guess it's such a different challenge every week. Like, if Teddy Sheringham drops in, you can follow him in the knowledge, unlike Robbie Keane, he can't just spin you and suddenly try and run in behind. But it varies all the time. Like, how do you handle an Henry? What do you do there?
Just pray. He was. I remember we played at Main Road against them, and the whole thing was just keep them outside. And there was literally a foot between me, him, and the end line of the pitch. And it was like, well, we've got him in a decent position, just keep him here. But he just kicked it, ran off the pitch, ran around me, and just ran straight through. And it's like, well, there's certain players that there's certain players that are just too quick that you can't stop. That you can show them one way, but they're too quick. They can just, if you show them inside or give them a yard, well, then that's all they need, because their first movement is like 4 steps of yours or something like that. So it is hard, but that's when I think as a centre half, rather than having a bravado and an ego and say, "Oh, I'll stop him, I'll do everything, don't worry about it, use lads, relax." You work with your defensive midfielder, you work with your full backs, you work with your centre half partner, and you say, right, if I'm going in, I'm going to commit myself, and I know you'll be behind me to cover me, because it's one of those, you try and make the centre forward take a bigger touch than he necessarily wants to take, knowing quite well that your two covering defenders should be able to help you out. So yeah, it's all about, it's great trying to be there and do all the work on your own, but a lot of it is communication and organisation before the situations arise.
Yeah, Thierry Henry is not a one-man job, I would imagine. You know, it's funny. So I don't mean this in a disrespectful way when it comes to Alan Shearer, but like all-time top Premier League goal scorer, and you might look at an Henry and say Henry's a much scarier prospect than Shearer, and yet he is clearly a phenomenal Shearer. 260 goals. You know, in that latter part of his career, after he had the difficult injuries and maybe he didn't have as much pace, how was he still able to score so many goals at such a high level?
I think intelligence, really. I just think the way that he played the game, he was very rarely doing any work outside the box. He would be in the penalty area the whole time. He was good in the air. He had a great strike on him. And yeah, I look back and I think, because I used to enjoy playing against him, and I mean, he scored loads of goals against me, but I enjoyed playing against him because he was an honest centre forward, someone who would battle you, who would kick you, but also take the kicks and play the game fairly. And he was brilliant, but I don't know if he was much quicker than anyone. I don't know if he was much stronger than anyone. I don't know if he was amazingly more clever than anyone. His movement, I don't know. But he was just always someone who had a knack for being in the right place at the right time. And he could score spectacular goals or tap-ins or whatever. And I suppose you look back and you think, well, he wasn't playing for Man United. He wasn't playing for Arsenal. He wasn't winning leagues or anything like that. But the team that he was in, he was scoring goals constantly. And I think even more so the fact that he didn't play for those big teams, the fact that he was at Newcastle and I know he won the league at Blackburn, it even highlights how amazing it is that the amount of goals that he got.
It's outrageous, like 260. He's so first. So Rooney is second in 08, and then you have Andy Cole, then you have Aguero. The most nuts one on the all-time list is that Lampard is ahead of Henry. I mean, that's just insanity. It's strange about Lampard. Yeah, he was a phenomenon. I guess he wasn't necessarily your worry. The midfielders you could blame when it came to him. So if you played under a lot of interesting managers, be it Keegan 01 to 05, Pearce 05 to 07, Sven for a year, Mark Hughes for a year, Martin O'Neill, Gerard Houllier. Under all of them, who did you enjoy your football the most under?
I probably enjoyed it under Sven. He was really good when he came in. He was just simple as that. And a lot of managers come in and they say, look, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You must do this. He just come in and he said, look, we're going to try and improve. We're going to try and make us better players. But all I want from everyone is just respect. Respect each other. Respect all the staff. Respect everyone who works there. And we'll get through it. And it was just a breath of fresh air, I suppose. He just wanted to relax. He wanted people to enjoy the work that they were doing. And we done reasonably well with him that season. We were good. The club was in a bit of a state, I suppose, with the owner that we had. But he was he involved the players. He told us what he wanted. He told us he used to speak to us about players that he wanted to sign, about where he thought the team could improve and stuff like that. And he made it a really good, I suppose, dressing room and place to be. People enjoyed coming in, and it was unfortunate how it finished up for him, but it was a good experience to work with him.
It's funny, on the outside, we're all very obsessed with tactics, and maybe that's the Klopp Guardiola thing. But so often when you talk to former players about when they were at their best or when they enjoyed it most or when the team was going well, it just comes down to man management or an atmosphere created by the manager, as opposed to, oh, well, he had the secret, on the tactics board and that's what unlocked everything for us. It does tend to be more about, well, it was just a nice place to be.
Yeah, and he had that about him, that he had the personality about him, that he wanted players to be happy, to be going into the game on a Saturday or a midweek or whatever, and feeling confident and feeling comfortable in what you're doing. And you look at the success that Martin O'Neill had at Aston Villa. Everyone has spoke about it. There's no great master plan or whatever, but players would walk out on the pitch feeling 10 foot tall. And I'm sure it was the same when he was at Celtic. And you get this sort of just this confidence that builds and builds and builds, and you feel like you're invincible, and that's not down to tactical work or anything like that. That's just down to good man management and keeping players happy. And there's obviously, the game has changed slightly in recent years with the different tactics that I suppose Pep has brought over and Klopp has introduced and stuff like that. And it does get more like that. But at the end of the day, if you've got players, the only way you can make a tactic is by the players buying into it. And if they don't like you or they don't believe in you, your tactics will go out the window. So you have to have that personality, I suppose, that the players feel like they want to work for you and they want to implement what you're trying to do.
Is the day gone, though, where a manager can just come in, make everyone feel good and say, go out and enjoy it?
Probably, yeah. Probably there's so much at stake, and players, I think players need guidance as well. You want them to go out and enjoy it, but they want to walk out onto the pitch fully confident and in what they're doing. You can't just say to a footballer, go out and enjoy yourself. He needs to have responsibilities, and I think players like routines and responsibilities, and they can take control of what they're supposed to do on the pitch. If you go out and say, well, just go and press, it's like, well, do I press everybody or do I just press my man or whatever? So I think if you can simplify it for players, that makes them happy. That makes everything, once it's clear in their heads, they'll all have the self-belief that if you give them one job, they'll be able to do it, So if you can clarify that and make it simpler for them, it will certainly help. You
never quite made up with Gerard Houllier, I presume?
No. No, I think I seen him maybe after one of the Ireland games or something like that. But it was, it was just a difficult period, I think, at the club, and he had different ideas, and probably it was wrong on my behalf, because you have preconceived ideas of people who come in and what they are or what they may be, and you listen to other people and stuff like that, and so you sort of close off possibly, and that could have been a factor. But he's doing great and for himself. I think he's the head of the Red Bull Academy or something like that, the Red Bull whole thing. So, but I've not really seen him since he left Villa.
And is it true that, his little mini dance the night of the Henri handball, that was, got the relationship off to a bad footing? Was that kind of big part of the reason for the chemistry?
It was just part of another reason to not like him, I suppose. For me, it was something that he did. It was something that he brought up in discussions when we were at Villa together, as a reason for me not liking him and stuff like that. And so it was childish stuff, really. I've been around a lot of French people for the last 5 years, so I know their personalities and how they work and different things like that. So it was one of them things that I've probably seen a few times from other people over there now, and it's I don't know. Whether it tries to wind you up or whatever. It's not something that Irish people would do. It's not how we behave. We don't do things like that. You've got a problem or you've got an issue, you say it to someone and you sort it out like that. You don't try and make snidey comments about it and stuff. So it's it's just him.
And was he maybe misreading the room, as in, if he made a snidey comment about the Henri handball, or if that came up, for instance, maybe he was assuming that this was not as big a deal to you as it clearly was. Such a serious thing for you. Might be easy for him to make a joke out of it. He might have just been misreading that, I wonder. Or would he have known it was bothering you?
It's one of those things. I mean, it bothered me at the time when he handled the ball, but 4 or 5 years down the line, in a conversation, if someone said it to me, when people say it to me all the time, How did you feel? How did you feel? And it's like, well, I felt crap 5 years ago, or I don't know, it's probably 20 years ago, or whatever long it is. But it's not something that's still on my mind, and it's but he wanted to know whether I didn't like him because of Thierry Henry's handball, and it's like, it's got absolutely nothing to do with him. You know what I mean? It's a strange thing for someone to say. It's like if a general Frenchman come up to me and says, "Do you not like me because of Thierry Henry's handball?" I'd be like, well, who said I don't like it? It's just, it's a strange thing.
Is it hard to play good football when the chemistry is off with a manager? Are we able to do decent stuff under Houllier?
We struggled, to be fair, that season. The whole team struggled. We weren't. I think Martin left at the start of the season. Then Kevin MacDonald came in, and I think he probably felt himself that he was under a little bit of pressure. Everyone, all the players liked him and had worked with him on a day-to-day in terms of whether it be with the reserve team or when you're coming back from rehab, you go and have a couple of sessions with Kev and stuff like that. And it was brilliant. His training was really intense and really good. But I don't know whether the size of the club, the size of the job was a little bit stressful for him or whatever. And then, so we sort of never got going. And then, the manager came in and he had different sort of ideas. He had a coaching staff, which was, I don't know, Gary McAllister was there and he obviously understood the Premier League, but whether the fitness coach understood the Premier League and the demands of the Premier League, I don't know. And things just didn't seem to go well, and I think we were floating around the relegation zone for a bit that season after finishing 6th beforehand. But then whatever happened for the end of the season, we sort of got our act together and won a few games, and we ended up finishing 9th, which looked not too bad on paper, but it was a difficult season, and it was sort of the start of the club's demise, I suppose. Once Martin left, and there was that questions about why didn't they give him money to buy a centre forward, and then a couple of months later they gave him 20 odd million to sign Darren Bent, and his goals propelled us back up the table. So whether we could have, if Martin had got it, whether we could have progressed again, it would have been interesting to see. But I think it was difficult from the club after that to get everything moving in the right direction again.
Yeah. You would have had a bit of reputation, few disciplinary issues in your younger years, but we're talking, all those Premier League games, PFA Team of the Year in 2010, and it's just, the reason I bring it up is it's interesting you talk there about the fitness team maybe not understanding the demands of the Premier League and how you enjoyed intense training. So there was clearly a real work ethic there as well. Did you become like militant, professional, doing everything perfect, obsessive in your later years, or did you always have a bit of a blowout and a bit of a balance? What was your approach when you got into a groove as a senior pro? You have to be honest here.
Look, yeah, I'd love to say it was the ultimate professional, but no, everything that I did in when I played and trained and everything like that, every day was 100%. I'd give everything, and that was the way I kept fit, was that I wanted to work hard in training and I wanted to play hard in games and stuff like that. And my personality and the way I am, I needed to go and have a blowout now and again. I need to relax, and I'm not someone who was, I suppose, obsessed with football 24 hours a day. I needed to have my own life and to step away, because I love football, I love playing, I love doing everything like that, but it was stressful, and for me I needed to get away from it from time to time. So I did have blowouts and I did relax and stuff like that, but I prided myself that always when I was there, and I would always give 100%. Anytime I was injured, I was always back well before I was supposed to be and stuff like that. And I hated missing training. Even when I was at QPR at 35 or whatever, they would say, I'll have a day off. But to me, I didn't want to have a day off, because to them a day off is going into the gym and doing weights, and I had no interest in that. I wanted to go out on the pitch and run around and do that sort of thing. So that was the way that I sort of always was. And I suppose the older you get, they do say take an extra day. But even down to, became a stage in your career where it's like, well, you're a senior team player now, you're first team and stuff like that. Don't play in the Carling Cup or the Carabao Cup or whatever that. But I wanted to. The more games I played, the quicker I could get into a rhythm of playing well and stuff like that. So I would always ask them if I could play, I wanted to play every match basically. So it was. I think I was a good pro probably, but I don't know if I was the same as, like, you see Harry Kane or Ronaldo or people like that who have fitness sessions in the night time, cold baths and all that sort of stuff. There was a limit to how much I could do.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not surprised to hear you say it was at times a little bit stressful, just that room of football 24/7. I suspect you're walking down the street, people talk to you about football, you're thinking about football, your job is football, just to throw the shackles off a little bit at times. Yeah,
I think I don't know where the players these days get their releases from and their freedom, because as every year goes by, the scrutiny gets more and more, and there's less leeway for players to relax and do that. And then think of a camera phone at your worst 3 moments. No one wants that. You know what I mean? And that'll be around forever. Yeah, and that goes for all walks of life. It's not something that you want to be reminded of, or if you try and relax and do something, and it's like, well, that's not what a professional footballer does. So I'm going to take a photograph of it. But everyone relaxes. Everyone has to have a bit of downtime and be free to live their own life and stuff like that. And there's no doubt if you're a footballer, you don't go into the middle of London and go and get drunk on a Friday night or wherever it is. But you have to be professional. You have to live your life as a professional footballer, and that means also then there is days when you can get a rest and you can have a break and stuff like that. So there's all these footballers, I suppose, feeling the stress, but they've also got families and kids and wives and parents who just want to see them relax and enjoy themselves with them. So there has to be for me, there had to be a bit of downtime amongst that.
Yeah, I'm sure. To finish up on Ireland chat then, did you get a chance to see any of Stephen Kenny's first 2 games?
Yeah, I watched the 2 matches. You could obviously see the change in the system and the change in strategy of how he wants to go about it. Whether it's really difficult for it to work straight off on the first couple of games. But yeah, you could see probably what it was. One of those games where you're crying out for a Wes Hoolahan from years ago to come back in and play in that sort of position and be that creative one, because we're doing a lot of nice passing, a lot of possession and stuff like that, but it's just trying to find that one player now who can give us the creativity to threaten teams, to cause trouble, and to put a finish to the good work which is starting to evolve.
I did wonder if David McGoldrick in particular, I mean, he's not Wes, but equally he's not against dropping deep and taking possession and trying to feed the ball to others. He might be a very important missing link in that chain from the last couple of games, and obviously he's fit and scored a goal at the weekend, so maybe that makes a difference. I presume Wes watches these games now and says, oh my God, 10 years too late.
Yeah, I'm sure he does, and there's probably a couple of other players along the way the same, but it's a unique role, and it's something that's really it's drifting almost out of football, is that number 10. If you look around, there's not too many number 10s anymore. The player who is sort of pigeonholed and told, right, that's your job. Everyone has to work, everyone has to press. So it's trying to find almost a creative midfielder who can also track back and tackle and work in a team unit. And it's very difficult to find. It's something which is, it's probably gold dust for all the teams, and where it is, I don't know. But there was certainly positive signs, I think, in the first couple of games in terms of the possession and being able to keep the ball. And I don't know how great the opposition was in the two games, and whether Slovakia is going to be a step up from that, because they like to keep the ball as well. So it will be a bit more of a test. And but fingers crossed, fingers crossed we can obviously win and get through to the next round of it. And yeah, it'd be great. It would be a really positive thing for Stephen Kenny and for Ireland if we can qualify, because there's obviously doubts about is he right? Is his tactics going to work? Do the players have the belief in him and all that sort of stuff? And it will take results to confirm that for the players and for the media and fans and stuff like that. So if we can win and we can get to the Euros, people will start to look at it and go, right, well, brilliant, we've got someone, and we may not win every game, but we're moving in the right direction.
And what is your opinion on the quality of players that we have and the type of football Stephen is trying to play?
I think he's trying to play the type of football which everyone is trying to play. I just hope it doesn't take away one of our main strengths is our passion, and people seem like, I think he doesn't like the fact that people talk about the way that Ireland used to play and stuff like that, but that's part of what an Irish team is. And if you lose that and then try and go head to head with the top teams in the world, they're better at this new style of football than what we are, and they've got better players and stuff like that. So you can't, if you take away that passion, it'll be a walkover. But you put that passion back into the team, you put that sort of turn them, get down to the channels, work them hard, kick them, foul them, everything like that. That's what we're good at, and that's what we've always been good at. So now, instead of thinking, well, we have to move away from that, we just have to add to it. We have to add the football inside of it. We have to add that bit more belief, but always know that if things aren't going right and things aren't, we don't just resort to kicking it long or anything like that, but we're not afraid to get hands dirty, to get stuck in, to work hard and to press the opposition, because wherever you think that's what the fans want to see. They want to see us playing good football, but they don't want to see us playing good football at the cost of losing that bit of fire and that bit of bite that we have.
Yeah, there is a DNA there that actually not every country has in the same way, so you might as well take advantage of it. I guess the worrying view of the first two games might be, one, for all of the possession, I can't remember Ireland creating a bucket load of chances. It wasn't that kind of a game. And two, in an uncharacteristic way, the goals that Ireland gave up were very soft.
Yeah, it's as a defender, and the defenders like Shane Duffy, like Egan, like whoever else has been playing there, the transition from being a footballing centre back, someone who has to spread wide, control the ball, and all this sort of stuff, to then instantly switching and getting back into the middle and getting compact and being defensive. It's difficult to do it, because on one hand you're trying to keep the ball, so you're in offensive positions, you're in space and you're looking for it. But if that's a bad ball, if someone gives the ball away, the gaps between the centre backs is massive. and they have to react quickly to get back in. So it's hard, and it doesn't happen. It's almost, you have to change your mindset and what you're used to be doing. You're normally in the right position from the get-go, and that's it. And then also in terms of scoring goals and creating chances, there has to be, I suppose, a process for the manager and for Keith and Damien as well, when they're out training, and the facts that they want them to pass the ball, and they've started to get them to do that. We've seen the possession count going up, and then the more they can do that and the more training sessions they can get, they will start to introduce, I suppose, certain patterns that they want to follow, and they will be the creative actions that they'll do in the game. I think at the moment it's about keeping it, and hopefully the work this week and whatever in the next 3 games will be, right, well, when we get into this situation, these are the movements that we want to make to start creating chances, and yeah, hopefully we can see the benefit of that in the coming games.
I mean, geez, it's not easy. I'd say they've had about 6 training sessions, if even, and we're looking for a big change. Yeah. That's a very interesting point you make about the likes of Duffy and Egan going from, split centre halves, full backs pushed on and kind of playing a certain type of football. That mindset shift to get back into tied together defensive. Because I'd say, like, for, certain games, say Moscow, for instance, I'm sure people mention that to you all the time. There was a degree there where your mindset as a team was get back tight. This is like defensive, roll up the sleeves type performance. So they're now trying to juggle the two, lovely football here and there, and then, as you said, switch into going tight together again. So that hadn't occurred to me, but that's a really interesting point.
It is. It's difficult to think if you're used to being in the centre half and you're in the middle of the pitch and you're 5 yards or 10 yards away from your other centre half, when you drift out to the right hand side to get into a good position, you probably, somewhere in your mind, your comfort zone is, you probably think the guy's right next to you and you're in the right position, and you're trying to do, because the manager will be saying drop off, pull wide, whatever it is, to get yourself into space to get the ball. But if any one of those people in front of you gives the ball away, you're 15 yards out of position, and the other guy's 15 yards out of position. So to then react and try and get back in, and it's difficult, because you think, well, do we just go straight to the ball? But the other guy has come across enough and stuff like that. So it's probably more difficult against Finland than against Bulgaria and stuff like that, because you do have a lot of the ball. Maybe when you don't have a lot of the ball, you're in your defensive positions to start with, so you're already in the right place. And then, but it's just a small mindset change that they need to think about, and they need to make sure if the ball's going forward and it goes into a certain zone, that you do retreat back into your normal positions.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much for the time. I mean, that was great. So much good stuff in that. Enjoy the game on Thursday. I guess, like the rest of us, you'll be watching it, and hopefully family all back together and COVID is behind us very soon. Richard Dunne, thanks so much. Real pleasure, Richard.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.